The impossible dream. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the viewport of Orbital Station Delta, her dark eyes fixed on the blue-green orb of Earth below. The last bastion of humanity looked peaceful from up here, but she knew better. The Carixian invasion had pushed mankind to the brink of extinction, and time was running out. "Captain, the Council is ready for you," a young lieutenant said, interrupting her thoughts. Alina nodded, smoothing down her uniform. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's not keep them waiting." As she walked through the station's corridors, Alina's mind raced with the enormity of what she was about to propose. The Phoenix Project was audacious, perhaps even impossible, but it was also humanity's last hope. The doors to the council chamber hissed open, revealing a semicircular room filled with the most powerful humans left alive. Military leaders, scientists, and politicians all turned to face her as she entered. Among them sat representatives from the Galactic Alliance, the Volrani, with their crystalline bodies, and the avian Sktheri. Their alien eyes watched her with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Captain Rice, Admiral Chen, the head of Earth's defense forces, began. "You've called this emergency session to present a new strategy against the Carixian threat. We're listening." Alina took a deep breath and activated the holographic display in the center of the room. The image of a massive starship appeared, its design unlike anything they'd seen before. "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Phoenix," Alina said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "A Dreadnought class vessel that will turn the tide of this war." Murmurs filled the room as the council members studied the hologram. It was Ambassador Skura of the Sktheri who spoke first, his feathers ruffling with agitation. "Captain, while we appreciate human ingenuity, this design defies the laws of physics as we know them. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical." Alina had expected this reaction. "You're right, Ambassador. By conventional standards, the Phoenix should be unflyable. But we're not using conventional technology." She gestured, and the hologram zoomed in on the ship's core. "This is the heart of the Phoenix, a gravitational singularity drive. It harnesses the power of a controlled black hole to generate thrust and manipulate spacetime itself." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices. Some council members shouted that it was impossible, others demanded to know more. Admiral Chen raised his hand for silence. "Captain Rice, this is unprecedented. How do you propose to create such a drive, let alone control it?" Alina's expression hardened. "With all due respect, Admiral, we don't have a choice. The Carixians have superior numbers and technology. Our current fleet can't stand against them. The Phoenix is our only shot at survival." She turned to address the entire room. "I've assembled a team of the brightest minds from every scientific discipline. We have theoretical frameworks, preliminary designs, and even a prototype quantum simulator. What we need now is your full support, resources, personnel, and time." The Volrani representative, a being of living crystal named Tylos, chimed in. "The risks are enormous. If this black hole drive were to destabilize, it could tear a hole in the fabric of spacetime. And if we do nothing, the Carixians will tear holes in our planets," Alina countered. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. Every species represented in this room is at risk if the Carixians aren't stopped." Admiral Chen leaned forward, his weathered face etched with the strain of years of losing battles. "How long would it take to build this ship, Captain?" "With unlimited resources and round-the-clock work. 18 months, Alina replied. The room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. Everyone knew the latest intelligence reports gave humanity less than 2 years before the Carixians launched their final assault. "It's cutting it close," Chen muttered. "Too close," Ambassador Skura added. "And that's assuming this human fantasy can even be realized." Alina felt her patience wearing thin. "With all due respect, Ambassador, human fantasies are the reason we're all still alive to have this debate. When the Carixians first attacked, It was our impossible shielding technology that saved not just Earth, but Scytheria as well. The avian alien ruffled his feathers, but remained silent. I'm not promising miracles, Elena continued, her voice softer now. I'm offering hope, a fighting chance. Isn't that worth the risk? The council members exchanged glances, a mix of fear and determination on their faces. Finally, Admiral Chen spoke. We'll need to discuss this further, Captain. But I think I speak for everyone when I say we're intrigued. Can you give us a more detailed briefing on the technical aspects? Elena nodded, relief washing over her. It wasn't a full green light, but it was a start. Of course, Admiral. I have my chief engineer, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, standing by. He can walk you through the specifics of the gravitational singularity drive. As if on cue, the doors opened and a bespectacled man in his 50s entered, carrying a stack of datapads. Dr. Tanaka nodded respectfully to the council before joining Elena at the center of the room. Dr. Tanaka, Chen said, I understand you're the mastermind behind this black hole drive. Can you assure us that it won't, well, swallow the ship, or worse, the planet? Hiroshi adjusted his glasses, a small smile playing on his lips. Admiral, I can assure you that the singularity at the heart of our drive is no more likely to swallow the ship than the Earth's core is to swallow the planet. It's all about containment and control. He activated a series of complex diagrams on the holodisplay. We've developed a system of quantum-locked magnetic fields that will keep the singularity stable and harness its immense gravitational power. The drive doesn't just move the ship, it moves space around the ship. The Volrani representative, Thylos, leaned forward, its crystalline structure glittering with interest. Fascinating. You're essentially creating a localized warp bubble. Precisely. Hiroshi nodded. Which is why the Phoenix will be capable of speeds and maneuvers that would tear any conventional ship apart. As the scientist delved deeper into the technical explanation, Elena watched the faces of the council members. She saw the initial skepticism giving way to cautious hope. Even the alien representatives seemed impressed by the audacity and potential of the project. Hours passed as questions were asked, answered, and debated. Energy requirements, material constraints, crew safety. No aspect of the Phoenix was left unexamined. Through it all, Elena and Hiroshi stood firm, their answers revealing the depth of thought and preparation that had gone into the project. As the session finally wound down, Admiral Chen called for a vote. We've heard the proposal and the technical briefing. Now we must decide. Do we commit our resources to the Phoenix project, or do we stick with our current strategy? Elena held her breath as the votes were cast. One by one, the council members made their choice. When the final tally was displayed, she could hardly believe her eyes. By a margin of 2 votes, Chen announced, the Phoenix project is approved. The room erupted in a mix of cheers and concerned murmurs. Elena felt a wave of relief wash over her, quickly followed by the weight of responsibility. They had their chance. Now they had to make it work. As the council members filed out, many stopping to congratulate or question her further, Elena found herself face to face with Ambassador Iskura. I voted against your project, Captain, the Scytheri said bluntly. I still believe it's more likely to fail than succeed. But, he paused, his avian eyes gleaming with something like respect. If anyone can make it work, I suspect it's you humans. You have a knack for achieving the impossible. Elena nodded, accepting both the criticism and the backhanded compliment. Thank you, Ambassador. I hope we can prove your doubts unfounded. As Kura walked away, Admiral Chen approached. Well, Captain, you've got your green light. 18 months to build an impossible ship. I hope you know what you're doing. Elena squared her shoulders, her voice filled with determination. So do I, Admiral. So do I. As the room emptied, Elena turned back to the hologram of the Phoenix, still rotating slowly above the display. Hiroshi joined her, his face a mix of excitement and apprehension. Well, my friend, Elena said softly. We've got our work cut out for us. Hiroshi nodded, a wry smile on his face. Indeed. Shall we begin the impossible? Elena's lips curled into a determined grin. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do when our backs are against the wall. The Phoenix will fly, Hiroshi. And when it does, the Carixians won't know what hit them. As they left the council chamber, the image of the Phoenix continued to rotate, a digital promise of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. The next 18 months would push humanity to its limits, but Elena Rice was ready for the challenge. The impossible dream was about to become reality, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Against all odds. The next 6 months passed in a blur of sleepless nights, breakthrough moments, and crushing setbacks. Elena Rice had transformed a forgotten hangar bay on Orbital Station Delta into the nerve center of the Phoenix project. Holographic displays flickered with constantly updating schematics, while 3D printers worked tirelessly, producing prototype components for testing. Elena stood at the center of this organized chaos, her uniform rumpled and dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't seen Earth's surface in months, but the view of her home planet from the station's viewport served as a constant reminder of what was at stake. "Captain," a voice called out. Elena turned to see Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka approaching, a concerned look on his face. "We've hit another snag with the containment field." Elena suppressed a sigh. "What is it this time, Hiroshi?" The engineer pulled up a holographic model of the drive core. "The quantum fluctuations are still too unpredictable. If we can't stabilize them, the singularity could collapse during ignition." Before Elena could respond, another voice chimed in. "Perhaps if you humans weren't so obsessed with brute force, you'd see the elegant solution." They turned to see Zaira, a Volrani scientist who had joined the project as part of the Galactic Alliance's contribution. Her crystalline body shimmered as she approached the hologram. "No offense, Zaira," Elena said, "but we've tried elegant solutions. They don't generate enough power." The Volrani's faceted eyes gleamed. "That's because you're thinking in linear terms. Watch." Zaira's crystalline fingers danced over the holographic controls, altering the containment field's geometry. The simulated quantum fluctuations began to stabilize, forming a hyperdimensional lattice around the singularity. Hiroshi's eyes widened behind his glasses. "Incredible. By using a fractal geometry, we can. Yes, this could work." Elena felt a glimmer of hope. It was moments like these that kept the project moving forward. "Great work, both of you. Hiroshi, start integrating this into the next prototype. Zaira, I owe you a drink." The Volrani scientist made a tinkling sound that Elena had learned was laughter. "I don't drink, Captain, but I appreciate the sentiment." As the two scientists hurried off to implement the new design, Elena allowed herself a small smile. The project was bringing together minds from across the galaxy, proving that cooperation was possible even in the darkest of times. Her moment of satisfaction was interrupted by the arrival of Commander John Martinez, her second in command. "Captain, we've got a problem. The Resource Allocation Committee is threatening to cut our funding." Elena's smile vanished. "What? Why?" Martinez handed her a datapad. "They're saying we're behind schedule and over budget. There's talk of diverting resources back to conventional ship production." "Damn it," Elena muttered, scanning the report. "Don't they understand that conventional ships won't stand a chance against the Carixian fleet? Apparently, a ship that doesn't exist yet is a hard sell," Martinez said with a grimace. Elena squared her shoulders. "Set up a call with the committee. It's time to remind them what we're fighting for." Hours later, Elena stood before a video conference array, facing the stern faces of the Resource Allocation Committee. She had prepared a detailed presentation, but as she looked at their skeptical expressions, she decided on a different approach. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "I know you have concerns about the Phoenix project. You're looking at numbers on a screen and seeing delays and cost overruns. But I want you to look at something else." She pressed a button, and the video feed changed to a live view of Earth. This is what we're protecting. Not just our planet, but every inhabited world in the galaxy. The Carixians won't stop with humanity. We are the last line of defense. Elena let the image sink in before continuing. Yes, we've had setbacks. Building the impossible isn't easy, but we're making progress every day. The Phoenix isn't just a ship, it's a symbol of what we can achieve when we push beyond our limits. She could see her words having an effect, but some committee members still looked unconvinced. It was time for her trump card. I'm not asking you to take my word for it, Elena said. I'm inviting you to see for yourselves. In 1 week, we'll be conducting the first full-scale test of the gravitational singularity drive. Come to Orbital Station Delta. Witness the future of space travel and warfare. The committee members murmured among themselves. Finally, the chairwoman spoke. Very well, Captain Reyes. We'll reserve judgment until after this demonstration. But be warned, if it fails, your funding will be cut immediately. Elena nodded, her expression grave. Understood, Madam Chairwoman. We'll be ready. As the video feed cut out, Elena let out a long breath. Martinez approached, his face a mix of admiration and concern. That was a bold move, Captain. Are you sure we'll be ready for a full test in a week? Elena met his gaze, determination burning in her eyes. We have to be, John. It's time to show the world that the impossible is possible. The next 7 days were a frenzy of activity. Elena pushed her team to the brink, fine-tuning every system and running countless simulations. The prototype drive core, a marvel of engineering barely the size of a small car, was installed in a reinforced test chamber. On the day of the demonstration, Orbital Station Delta was abuzz with nervous energy. The Resource Allocation Committee had arrived, along with representatives from the Galactic Alliance and top military brass. All eyes were on the Phoenix project. Elena stood before the assembled dignitaries in the observation room, trying to project confidence despite the knot in her stomach. Behind a thick, transparent aluminum window, the prototype drive core sat on its test platform, surrounded by a forest of sensors and safety equipment. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena began, what you're about to witness is the dawn of a new era in propulsion technology. The gravitational singularity drive will revolutionize space travel and give us the edge we need in the war against the Carixians. She nodded to Hiroshi, who stood at the control panel. Dr. Tanaka, begin the ignition sequence. The room fell silent as Hiroshi's fingers danced over the controls. On a large screen, they could see the drive core beginning to power up, a faint blue glow emanating from its center. Containment field stable, Hiroshi reported. Initiating singularity formation. The blue glow intensified, and the air seemed to ripple around the drive core. Elena held her breath, silently willing the experiment to succeed. Suddenly, alarms blared. The drive core's glow pulsed erratically, and the entire station shuddered. Quantum fluctuations increasing. Hiroshi shouted, "Containment field is destabilizing." Elena's mind raced. This was it, the moment that would either save or doom the project. She had a split second to make a decision. "Zira," she called out, "implement your fractal field geometry. Now." The Volrani scientist leaped into action, her crystalline fingers a blur over the auxiliary control panel. The screen showed the containment field shifting, transforming into a complex, multidimensional pattern. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to change. Then, gradually, the alarms quieted. The erratic pulsing of the drive core stabilized, settling into a steady, brilliant blue glow. Containment field restabilized. Hiroshi announced, his voice filled with awe. Singularity formation. Successful. We've done it. The observation room erupted in cheers and applause. Elena felt a wave of relief wash over her, but she quickly composed herself. There was still work to be done. She turned to the Resource Allocation Committee, whose members stood slack-jawed at the display. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've just witnessed is only the beginning. With your continued support, we'll have the Phoenix ready to fly in less than a year." The chairwoman stepped forward, her earlier skepticism replaced by barely contained excitement. "Captain Reyes, I think I speak for the entire committee when I say that your funding is secure. Whatever you need to complete this project, you'll have it." As the dignitaries filed out, buzzing with excitement, Alina felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Admiral Chen, a rare smile on his face. "Congratulations, Captain," he said. "You've given us all something we desperately needed: hope." Alina nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "Thank you, Admiral. But this is just the first step. We've proven the drive works. Now we need to build a ship around it." As the observation room emptied, Alina found herself alone, staring at the still glowing drive core through the window. They had achieved the impossible, but the real challenges were just beginning. The Phoenix would fly, but could it save humanity from the coming storm? With renewed determination, Alina turned away from the window. There was no time to rest on their laurels. The Carixians were still coming, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The race to complete the Phoenix was on, and Alina Reyes was ready to give it everything she had. Trial by fire. 12 months after the successful drive test, the Phoenix was finally ready for its maiden voyage. The massive ship hung in the orbital construction dock, its sleek lines and unconventional design a testament to human ingenuity and alien cooperation. Captain Alina Reyes stood on the bridge, surrounded by a crew that represented the best of humanity and their alien allies. The air was thick with tension and excitement. "All systems are green, Captain," reported Commander Martinez from the operations console. "We're ready for launch." Alina took a deep breath, savoring the moment. "Very well. Commence undocking procedure." As the docking clamps released, Alina felt a subtle shift beneath her feet. The inertial dampeners, a marvel of Sketheri technology, were already at work, compensating for the massive ship's movements. "We are free and clear of the dock," Martins announced. "Awaiting your orders, Captain." Alina's voice was steady as she gave the command they'd all been waiting for. "Engage the singularity drive. Take us out, nice and easy." Dr. Tanaka, manning the engineering station, initiated the drive sequence. The ship hummed to life, a deep resonant sound that seemed to vibrate through their very bones. "Singularity forming. Containment field stable," Hiroshi reported. "We have propulsion." Outside the viewports, the stars began to shift as the Phoenix moved away from Earth orbit. Unlike conventional engines, there was no visible exhaust or flare of energy. The ship simply moved, as if space itself was carrying it forward. Alina allowed herself a small smile. "Well done, everyone. Let's start with a tour of the solar system. Helm, set course for Mars." As the Phoenix gracefully accelerated, the crew worked with practiced efficiency, monitoring systems, and running diagnostics. Everything was performing beyond expectations. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Captain," shouted the sensor officer, Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, no relation to Hiroshi. "We're detecting multiple hyperspace windows opening." Alina's blood ran cold. "Carixians?" Yuki nodded grimly. "A full battle group. They must have detected our launch. Red alert. All hands to battle stations." Alina commanded. "Looks like we'll be testing the Phoenix's combat capabilities sooner than we thought." The ship's corridors echoed with the sound of running feet as crew members rushed to their posts. On the bridge, tactical displays lit up, showing the emerging Carixian fleet, 5 capital ships and numerous smaller vessels. "They're launching fighters," Martins reported. "Intercept course." Alina's mind raced. The Phoenix was designed for combat, but they hadn't had time for proper shakedown trials. They were about to go into battle with an untested ship against a superior force. "Helm, prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Weapons, charge main cannon. Let's show them what this ship can do." The Phoenix's main weapon, a gravity lance that harnessed the power of the singularity drive, had never been fired outside of simulations, As the Carixian ships closed in, Alina prayed it would work as designed. Enemy vessels in range, the tactical officer announced. They're firing. Space lit up with the deadly dance of energy beams and missiles. The Phoenix twisted and turned, its unconventional drive allowing for maneuvers that would tear a normal ship apart. Direct hit on our starboard shields. Martinez called out. Shields holding at 92%. Elena gripped her command chair. Return fire. Target the lead capital ship. The gravity lance powered up, drawing energy directly from the ship's singularity core. A beam of distorted space-time lanced out, striking the Carixian vessel. The effect was immediate and devastating. The enemy ship's hull crumpled as if crushed by an invisible giant hand. Target destroyed. The tactical officer shouted, unable to keep the awe from his voice. But there was no time to celebrate. The remaining Carixian ships pressed their attack, seemingly enraged by the loss of their comrade. Multiple incoming torpedoes, Yuki warned. Impact in 5 seconds. Elena made a split-second decision. Hiroshi, initiate spacefold. It was a maneuver they had only theorized, using the singularity drive to create a localized warp in spacetime, essentially folding space around the ship. If it worked, they would instantly relocate several thousand kilometers away. Initiating spacefold now. Hiroshi confirmed, his fingers flying over his console. The universe seemed to twist around them. For a heartbeat, everything went black. Then suddenly, they were elsewhere. The Carixian torpedoes detonating harmlessly in empty space. Spacefold successful. Martinez reported, his voice filled with disbelief. We're clear of the enemy fleet. Elena allowed herself a brief moment of exultation. Well done, everyone. But this fight isn't over. Bring us about. Let's show the Carixians what happens when they pick a fight with the Phoenix. What followed was a battle unlike any in the history of space warfare. The Phoenix danced through space, its impossible maneuvers leaving the Carixian ships struggling to track it. Each blast from the gravity lance wreaked havoc on the enemy fleet. But the Carixians were relentless. As the battle wore on, the Phoenix began to take damage. Shield generators overloaded. Hull plating buckled under repeated impacts. Captain, we can't take much more of this, Martinez warned, his console sparking from a power surge. Elena's mind raced, searching for a solution. Then it hit her. Hiroshi, can we create a controlled singularity collapse? The engineer's eyes widened as he grasped her plan. It's possible, but incredibly risky. We'd be riding the shockwave of a miniature black hole. Do it, Elena commanded. Helm, plot a course that will take us out of the system. We're going to leave a little surprise for our Carixian friends. As the Phoenix turned to flee, Hiroshi worked feverishly at his station, initiating singularity collapse in 3, 2, 1. The ship lurched forward with incredible speed as the controlled collapse created a massive burst of energy behind them. The Carixian fleet, caught in the gravitational maelstrom, was torn apart. As the Phoenix shot out of the solar system, riding the wavefront of the collapsed singularity, the bridge crew watched in awe as the sensors showed the utter destruction they'd left in their wake. All enemy ships destroyed, Yuki reported, her voice hushed. We did it. Elena slumped in her chair, the adrenaline of battle finally wearing off. Status report. Martinez consulted his console. Heavy damage to our outer hull. Shields are offline. Weapon systems operational but depleted. The singularity drive is stable but will need significant repairs. And the crew? Minor injuries reported, but no casualties. Martinez replied with a relieved smile. Elena nodded, feeling a swell of pride. Send a message to Earth. Tell them the Phoenix has risen from the ashes of its first battle. We're coming home. As the battered but undefeated Phoenix limped back to Earth, news of its victory spread like wildfire. The impossible ship had not only flown but had single-handedly defeated a Carixian battle group. Hope, long absent from the faces of Earth's defenders, began to shine once more. But Alina knew, forging alliances and the final battle. The return of the Phoenix to Earth was met with jubilation. As the ship docked at Orbital Station Delta, crowds gathered at viewports to catch a glimpse of the vessel that had turned the tide of war. Captain Alina Reyes, however, knew that one victory did not win a war. In the weeks that followed, as the Phoenix underwent repairs and upgrades, Alina found herself thrust into a new role: diplomat. The success of the Phoenix had caught the attention of alien races that had previously remained neutral in the conflict against the Carixians. "Captain," Admiral Chen said during a briefing, "we need you to lead a diplomatic mission. The Arcturian Confederation has expressed interest in joining our alliance, but they want to see the Phoenix for themselves." Alina raised an eyebrow. "The Arcturians? I thought they were determined to stay out of the war." "That was before your little display in the solar system," Chen replied with a wry smile. "Now they're reconsidering their position. If we can bring them into the alliance, their advanced shielding technology could be a game changer." And so, once repairs were complete, the Phoenix set off on a new mission. As they approached Arcturian space, Alina stood on the bridge, flanked by her diverse crew. Commander Martinez manned the helm, while Dr. Tanaka monitored the Singularity drive. Zura, the Volrani scientist, had become an integral part of the engineering team. "Arcturian Defense Fleet approaching," Lieutenant Yuki announced. "They're hailing us." On screen, Alina commanded. The view screen flickered to life, revealing an Arcturian admiral. The alien's iridescent skin shimmered as it spoke. "Phoenix, this is Admiral Zix of the Arcturian Confederation. We've been expecting you." Alina stepped forward. "Admiral Zix, I'm Captain Alina Reyes. On behalf of Earth and the Galactic Alliance, we thank you for this opportunity." What followed was a series of demonstrations, technical briefings, and tense negotiations. The Arcturians were impressed by the Phoenix's capabilities, but wary of fully committing to the war effort. It was during a formal dinner with the Arcturian High Council that the situation changed dramatically. Alarms blared throughout the Arcturian capital ship where the dinner was being held. "We're under attack," an Arcturian officer shouted, bursting into the room. "A Carixian strike force has entered the system." Alina locked eyes with Admiral Zix. "Let us help you," she said firmly. "Let the Phoenix show you what it can do in defense of your people." Zix hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Very well, Captain. Show us what your ship can do." The next hours were a blur of action. The Phoenix, alongside the Arcturian Defense Fleet, engaged the Carixian forces. Alina's crew worked in perfect synchronization, their experience from the previous battle evident in every maneuver. "Gravity lance charge," the tactical officer reported. "Target locked on Carixian flagship." "Fire," Alina commanded. The lance of distorted spacetime lashed out, tearing through the Carixian ship shields as if they weren't there. The enemy vessel crumpled, its reactor going critical moments later. The battle raged on, with the Phoenix at the center of it all. Alina coordinated with the Arcturian fleet, using the Phoenix's unique abilities to create openings for their allies to exploit. As the last Carixian ship fell, a cheer went up across the Allied fleet. On the bridge of the Phoenix, Alina allowed herself a small smile. "Stand down from Red Alert," she ordered, "and open a channel to Admiral Zix." The Arcturian admiral's face appeared on screen, a look of awe clear on his alien features. "Captain Reyes," he said, "I believe we have much to discuss regarding the Arcturian Confederation's role in your alliance." In the days that followed, the Arcturians not only joined the alliance, but began sharing their shielding technology. The Phoenix underwent another round of upgrades, its hull now shimmering with a layer of Arcturian energy shielding. But even as the alliance grew stronger, reports came in of a massive Carixian fleet gathering for a final assault on Earth. The time had come for a decisive battle. As the combined fleet of Earth, Arcturian, Volrani, and Sktheri ships assembled, the Phoenix took its place at the vanguard. Alina stood on the bridge, looking out at the armada they had assembled. "All ships report ready, Captain," Martins announced. Elena nodded, her face set with determination. "Send a message to the fleet. Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for the freedom of all sentient beings. Today, we show the Carixians that the unity of our alliance is stronger than their tyranny." As if in response to her words, space lit up with the arrival of the Carixian armada. It was a force unlike anything they had faced before. Hundreds of ships, including several dreadnoughts that dwarfed even the Phoenix. "All ships, engage at will," Elena commanded. "Let's bring the fight to them." The battle that followed would be remembered for generations as one of the most epic confrontations in galactic history. The Phoenix led the charge, its gravity lance carving paths of destruction through the Carixian lines. But the enemy was relentless. For every ship they destroyed, it seemed two more took its place. The Phoenix shuddered under repeated impacts, its Arcturian shields flaring brilliantly as they repelled attack after attack. "Shields at 30%. Martins reported grimly. "We can't take much more of this." Elena's mind raced, searching for a solution. Then she saw it, a weakness in the Carixian formation. "All power to the singularity drive," she ordered. "We're going to take out their command ship." "But Captain," Hiroshi protested, "if we divert that much power, we'll be defenseless." "Sometimes you have to roll the hard six," Elena replied. "Do it." The Phoenix surged forward, its shields dropping as all power was diverted to the drive. Carixian weapons fire scorched its hull, but Elena held her course. "Gravity lance charged to 200% capacity," the tactical officer reported. "If we fire at this level, it could destabilize the core." Elena gritted her teeth. "On my mark. Fire." The lance that erupted from the Phoenix was like nothing they had seen before. It cut through space itself, striking the Carixian command ship with unimaginable force. The massive vessel didn't just explode. It imploded, collapsing in on itself as if consumed by a black hole. The destruction of their command ship threw the Carixian fleet into chaos. The Alliance pressed their advantage, and soon the tide of battle had decisively turned. As the last Carixian ship fell, a cheer went up across the Allied fleet. On the bridge of the Phoenix, battered but unbroken, Elena allowed herself to relax for the first time in what felt like years. "Stand down from Red Alert," she ordered, "and send a message to Earth. Tell them it's over. We've won." In the days that followed, as the Allied fleet returned to Earth, the full impact of their victory became clear. The Carixian threat had been neutralized, and a new era of cooperation between the various races of the galaxy had begun. Standing once again at the viewport of Orbital Station Delta, Elena looked down at the Earth, now safe thanks to the sacrifices and determination of so many. "Quite a view, isn't it?" a voice said behind her. She turned to see Admiral Chen approaching. "It certainly is, sir," she replied. Chen stood beside her, his eyes on the planet below. "The Phoenix Project started as humanity's last hope," he said. "Now it's become the foundation for a new galactic society. The Secretary General wants to establish a permanent peacekeeping force, with the Phoenix as its flagship. And they want you to lead it, Captain. Or should I say, Admiral Reyes." Elena's eyes widened in surprise. "Admiral." Chen smiled. "You've earned it. So, what do you say? Ready for your next impossible mission?" Elena looked back at the Earth, then out at the stars beyond. The Phoenix had proven that the impossible was possible. Who knew what other marvels awaited them out there? With a smile, she turned back to Chen. "When do we start?" As they walked away from the viewport, discussing the future that lay ahead, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The Phoenix had risen from the ashes of near defeat, and with it, a new age of exploration, cooperation, and peace had dawned for all sentient beings in the galaxy. The end, or perhaps just the beginning.